Remember back when Nicktoons were, actual Nicktoons? Not just some weird-ass cartoon that Nickelodeon broadcast and is immediately labeled as a Nicktoon, but instead a cartoon that actually earned its title as a Nicktoon? A cartoon that started out as an idea, and after a season or two of progress, it proves its worth. Shows like SpongeBob, Hey Arnold, Angry Beavers, Ren and Stimpy, Invader Zim, and who could forget Fairly Oddparents? What started out as a couple of shorts on Oh Yeah Cartoons became one of Nickelodeon's highest rated shows, and rightfully so. It had a relatable protagonist, likable characters, and a great atmosphere for an animated fantasy show for kids. And sure, people hate on the series now with its attempts to add more characters and stay relevant, but we can't forget what was already good about the series to begin with. And to celebrate what was so good about it, I'm going to be playing a game that doesn't support that claim at all. This is Breakin the Rules, and not to say that it's bad, but something tells me that even when I was 7 first playing it, there was a lot left to be desired. But hey, it can't be that bad. The game came out between the 3rd and 4th seasons of the show, practically when it was in its prime, so it should be great, right?
Timmy, we're leaving for our, seminar weekend.
Duty calls! We certainly won't be having any fun this weekend. Fun this weekend. Fun this weekend. Fun this weekend. Fun this...
The plot of the game is that while Timmy's parents are away for the weekend, Vicky has to babysit. But out of fear, Timmy accidentally wishes away the rulebook, and anyone who comes in contact with it gains Cosmo and Wanda's wish power. Vicky touches the book, thus making every sentence starting with I wish come into fruition. Because of this, Timmy, Cosmo, and Wanda are ordered by Fairy Court to retrieve all the pages of the rules in order to gain their powers back, or else they lose their fairy licenses forever. And this is actually a cool setup for the game that offers a lot to expand upon in terms of the whole Fairly Oddparents universe. And every level here showcases that with characters like Mr. Crocker, the Crimson Chin, Chester and AJ, the Yucatamians, the Interfairies, and more. There are even a few levels based on episodes of the show, and yeah, some are better than others, but it's great to know that the developers were actually including some of the more memorable aspects of the first 3 seasons. And if it isn't obvious enough, the graphics of this game are... not so great. The models specifically don't seem 3-dimensional enough. It's as if somebody took the flat 2D models of the show and rendered them out of a 3D printer. I can't even say that these were a stylistic choice, because it doesn't try too hard to be 3-dimensional or 2-dimensional, but it's split right down the middle. Mr. Game & Watch seems more 3D than these models, and he's purposely 2-dimensional. I know the show has occasionally joked about how flat and 2-dimensional it is, but for the sake of this 3-dimensional game, they could have given the models a little more polish. Sometimes the models aren't centered or adjusted enough to make it look like the characters are making eye contact with each other. I'll give credit to the Edda and Eddie game, the graphics at least looked like an exact 3D model of the show, but these ones just seem lazy. I mean, some look okay, while others are just... derpy.
Justice will never rescue you, pencil-wielding floozy!
That happens? We're done here. It's like, hey, we don't even have this game. We're done with this game. Goodbye.
They couldn't even get the voiceover to sound clear enough, especially with how much Vicky yells to the point of almost breaking the mic.
Ah! There's a spider in the bath! Ah! Don't do that!
While the models are lazy in their design, the colors stand out the most and very much resemble a standard episode. It's all very bright and vibrant and looks as good as it can to capture the magical essence of the show, so kudos to the developers for that. What I do like about this game is that each level stands out as its own and it doesn't seem like one is borrowing from another. Each one has a different color scheme to resonate itself from the rest, and the layouts are pretty linear, but overall, they look really good. I especially like the video game themed level, going for a bit of a Tron-esque vibe. It reminds me a lot of the Tron level from Kingdom Hearts 2. But that only makes me wish I was playing Kingdom Hearts 2. However, one of the game's greatest faults is the controls. You play as Timmy, and using the analog stick is pretty simple when being controlled on the ground, but it becomes tedious when traveling platform to platform. Timmy has little to no weight to him, ironic for a kid with a small body and a huge head, but it can be hard to keep your air momentum when jumping. Look how hard it is for me to get up on this log. I'm just trying to get up on this log, why is this so goddamn hard? When you do a double jump across a platform, he does get some air momentum, but as soon as you let go of that X button, he plummets to the ground like an anvil. And even then, it's hard to tell where you're going to land because not only is there little weight to Timmy, but there's no clear depth perception between you and where you're trying to land. There's no shadow below you, and sometimes you jump a little too high off screen and are going a little too far forward, so you have to slightly retract the analog stick in hopes that you can successfully land on a platform that's right in front of you. It shouldn't have to be this hard. One of the more annoying aspects of this game is that Cosmo and Wanda are constantly talking throughout the level. No matter what you interact with or how far you go, they always have to throw something in to say, which can be really nerve-wracking. And I speak with no hesitance when I say they're more annoying than Navi, Midna, and Fee combined, because at least in those games, you have a choice to listen to them or not. Here, you have to listen to every joke every few steps for the whole game. I can assume that the developers thought there wasn't much in the levels to interact with, so they threw them in to keep the player's attention, but it's really aggravating having to listen to every single solitary joke, regardless if it was funny or not. And there are even some stages where they repeat sound bites back to back, which gets even more irritating to listen to.
Careful! Getting hit would be a tragedy! Anything that's a light of me! Anything that's a light of me! Anything that's a light of me!
They even interrupted me during the gameplay and made me have to backtrack. Look at what you two did. You're bringing both of us down.
Think I'm gonna have to avoid people again?
How could this happen to me?
Because Vicky is unaware of the wishing powers, Cosmo and Wanda can only use temporary ones, and they can only be powered by collecting 5 wish stars so that Timmy can wish for something to help you progress through the level. Along the way, you can collect floating crowns that give you an extra life when every 100 are collected. And if you stop to look around once in a while, you'll find Crimson Chin cards that unlock bonus clips from episodes of the show and behind the scenes featurettes. Those are all pretty neat collectibles, but the game creates a huge backlash for them considering every time you complete a level and start a new one, your lives are reset. This, for the most part, makes collecting crowns seem pointless. Not that the game is any harder if you don't have extra lives, but where's the fun in collecting them if you know they'll just be useless to you in about 5 minutes? Sometimes my OCD will kick in and I'll start collecting every single one just for the hell of it, so they got me there. And aside from the major flaws of the game, there were a lot of aspects that didn't make sense to me. In level 8, titled The Dog's Life, Vicky accidentally wishes Timmy was a dog because it would make him and Tootie leave her alone. Cosmo and Wanda eventually find Timmy after being captured by a dog catcher, but he can't wish he was a kid again because apparently Tootie's in love with him as a dog and they can't make wishes that interfere with true love for a dog. This idea doesn't make any sense to me because not only is she in love with a dog, but interfering with true love doesn't affect being turned into a dog but not back into a kid. Tootie was already in love with Timmy as a kid, so changing his appearance like that is already breaking the rules. And in the show, he could change his appearance and it wouldn't affect the rule, so why now? Because we wouldn't have a less than average level without it. Also in the same level, Timmy tries to make Tootie fall out of love with him by getting dirty at the mud baths at the spa, but I actually died in one of the mud baths on the way there, ironically. Either way, it's pretty lame.
Much less lame.
And as for the music, there isn't too much to talk about. It's not music I would see myself humming to because it's more of an ambiance that creates an environment surrounding the player, much like the score to the Jak and Daxter games. But it does tend to build up during the more engaging moments, whether it's a button masher or a boss battle. And the track that stands out the most to me is in the final boss stage with Vicky when she's been turned into a dragon. While the other stages had more of a subtle soundtrack, the final boss's music is on a much grander scale and is, for lack of better adjectives, epic. While the video game stage may be my favorite and the others can be seen as average, I think it's all worth playing just for this boss battle. This one stands out from the rest because while the other levels were linear and seemed easy enough to get through, this one actually requires a bit of strategy. The whole objective is for Timmy to step on these buttons that when pressed in the right order, makes Vicky wish that she never took the rulebook. And it's not as easy as it sounds because not all the buttons are in order, some are misleading, and if you die just once, you have to restart all over again. This includes knowing which way to run, trying not to fall off the platform, avoiding Vicky breathing fire, and jumping over the platform when it breaks. Any average player will go through trial and error, but once you see a pattern, you can make it through after the first few tries. This is a great way to end the game, if you ask me. But after the gameplay, you see the actual ending, and all it has to offer is them getting their magic back and a series of lengthy, awkward laughter.
Why am I laughing?
That's a damn shame after how cool that final boss was. You know what? They want to stretch it this much? Then I will too. Is this a good game? Well, I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's definitely not great. It has its moments every now and then, the levels are well designed, and I do appreciate how closely they attempted to adapt it from its original source material, but a lot of the rest can fall pretty flat. I'd say it's a pretty average movie-based game, and if you like Fairly Oddparents, you might enjoy it, but only so much until you'll just decide to watch the show again.